I think after that, it's the perfect time to introduce episode 17.
It is once bitten, twice shy. So about going back to work after workplace abuse. So I did go right back to work. There was no interlap for me. And very interesting. I think it's a lot like when you're in a relationship and you break up, you should take time to reflect. And I didn't take the time. Doing it all over again, I would take time off in between.
Well, it's interesting because there's a couple things that might happen. And just for full transparency, and people know, I didn't go back to work. I lost my career. So, and I also want to say, like, physically and mentally, I don't even know if I would have been capable of going back. I absolutely felt fearful of the workplace, never knowing if I would feel safe again, thinking of going back in, right? But there seems to be one of two responses for people that go back in. So I want to ask you about this. Either you're hyper vigilant, right? And everything that's happening is toxic, even though maybe it's not. And then maybe things are toxic, but then you don't see it quickly enough, even after you've been through this experience. Since out of the two of us, you're the only one that's been back to work. What do you think about those two ways of what that must be like?
It's interesting to go back into work because you try not to be so like hyper vigilant. I was trying to look at the positive and trying not to approach it with all my baggage. But I think that these lessons we learn are there to help us. And I should have paid more attention to, once again, I should have trusted myself, trusted my body, trusted my feelings, trusted how I was feeling again. So yeah. And if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have just been like, go fuck yourself, because your health is worth more than anything. And that stress and being around a toxic environment, especially after what I'd just been through, was really not good for me. And I should have taken the time off.
Is there any advice that maybe you can give for people that are feeling hypervigilant? I mean, the biggest thing for me, I would think, is just to be aware that that is a side effect or a symptom of workplace abuse, and then seeking support on working yourself through that while you're feeling that way. I'd have to hire a therapist. What about you?
To do it all over again, I think you really need to pay attention to the signs. I really think that in my case, taking time off and really reevaluating and thinking about what I just been through would have done a greater service to me. I don't think I should have been more hypervigilant. I should have listened to myself, because I think that we shouldn't doubt ourselves anymore. We've done that. And if something's going on, we are very attuned to it, and we should listen to our bodies and our feelings.
Okay, so we both, before we started this, and we haven't talked about it because I'm curious how similar our lists look. You going back to work and me it being a hypothetical, since I haven't yet. If you had to list the top 5 things that you would do differently in a new workplace after workplace abuse, what would your top 5 be? I want to compare what you came up with versus mine.
Number 1 would be your health is important. Walk out the door. Number 2 would be your health is important. Walk out the door. Number 3 would be your health is important. Walk out the door. Number 4 would be trust yourself. And number 5 would be walk out the door. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to say. Life is too short. And most targets, we have talents and we're innovative and creative. You know how I feel. And go someplace where you're appreciated and valued, because you are valuable. And if you're in a place where they're not valuing you, then it's time. Don't waste all that time. Mic drop. I'm out. Period. And let me hear your 5.
Okay, well, listen, I love your list actually better than mine. And yes, and yes, that's awesome. So I would go in and I think have a list of my little red flags so that I could keep track of them, / be aware of new managers. Like that transition into new management would be a big thing for me. I would document issues the second, whether I was hyper vigilant or not. I would be a documenter of what was happening in my workplace and how I was feeling. Keeping that at home, of course, but I would document. Definitely, like you had said, 4 out of your 5 things, I would have an exit plan in place. So I would make sure sometimes I call it dignity savings account, where I would have to save a little bit and just also keep track of options so that I never would feel trapped again. I'd keep major control of my emotions in the workplace. And then the last thing I would do is keep track of all of my accomplishments. Everything I would write down so that, A, I own them, and B, I could take them to the next place and remind myself of my value. I would always be keeping track. Those are my 5.
I love that.
I
love
like yours,
that.
though, because the point is leave if you're not appreciated. And I love that.
Yeah, I have that dignity savings account. And if you're not being valued and you're not being given tasks that are at the level of your professionalism, which is a lot to do with these jobs, then you need to go because you're not being valued. And once you're not being valued, you got to go. Life is too short. Your health means too much. So
Right.
there we have it. Once bitten, twice shy, but badass targets that we are. We learn our lessons and move on.
So what's a question that you want to pose to the audience real quick?
Favorite big hair 80s band song?
Perfect. Yeah, we want to hear from you. Definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much and have a great week and always be badass. Bye.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube so that you can get all of the latest videos. And please, we want to hear from you. Let us know.
Bye.
Bye.